How's it going, everyone? In today's video, I'll be reviewing The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask manga. A couple months ago, I reviewed Ocarina of Time, and it was fun talking about it, so I decided to make another one. For a quick spoiler-free review, like Ocarina of Time, it has adventure, action, humor, and it has more development around the characters. Like its gaming counterpart, it has a darker tone of the Curse of Termina, where the moon is about to crush and destroy the villagers and the whole world. So Link has to save 4 guardian deities to help him stop it. The link to buy it on Amazon is in the description. It starts with the happy mask salesman from the perspective of an individual who wants to buy a mysterious, spiked mask that grants the wishes of the wearer. But he strictly prohibits it, as it's also of pure evil. With his back turned on the individual, he pushes him off, grabs the mask, and runs away. Meanwhile, Link travels to a knightly order in the hopes of getting a sword-fighting lesson, to train more as a warrior. Coincidentally, the soldiers were hoping to learn from him. Nevertheless, after he beats them, and their master Osen, he hops on Epona, and they make their way to the Lost Woods. While there, he briefly recaps the events that occurred in Ocarina of Time. After he beat Ganondorf, and locked him away in the realm, he was sent back in time, and his fairy friend Navi flew away. Link hears a fairy fly towards him, hoping he found Navi, but it wasn't, as it had a completely different color. Circling around Epona, it stunned her, and she knocked Link off her back. The being with the mask on turns out to be a Skull Kid, and he, along with another fairy, appeared to examine Link, and they took the Ocarina of Time out of his pocket. Like the game, Link launches at the masked kid, but he jumped out of the way, hopped on Epona, and she galloped away. Deep inside a cave, the masked kid puts a curse on Link, turning him into a Deku Scrub. The fairies, identified as Tattle and Tail, get separated as the latter and the Skull Kid disappear so suddenly. Because of this, Tattle agrees to take Link where the Skull Kid and Tail might be, and they find themselves in a local folk town apparently far away from Hyrule. A woman named Anju appears to take Link and treat his wounds from getting attacked by a dog at Stockpot Inn. She explains that Clocktown is having a festival in 3 days, and she and her fiancé, Kafei, were planning to get married on that day too. In addition, there's a controversy going on about the moon, whether or not it would fall down and destroy Termina. She says it was a curse done by the little demon. Therefore, Link comes to the conclusion that the Skull Kid is doing all this. Leaving with Tattle, they find her brother and the Skull Kid on top of the clock tower. Before they retrieve the ocarina, he alludes to 4 people from the swamp, mountain, sea, and valley. Then upon doing so, Link remembers Zelda teaching him the Song of Time again. So they travel back in time 3 days before the festival. Link is turned back to normal, and the Deku Scrub form turns into a mask. The happy mask salesman arrives and explains why the mask is important to him. And if Link doesn't help Tail, the Skull Kid will keep abusing him. So, he agrees, they get back to Clocktown, think about the locations Tail mentioned, and they start heading for the swamp. There, they meet a group of monkeys who rescue Link from walking in poisoned water and cure him in a pure spring. They believe the swamp has been cursed by a monster inside the Wood Temple. And as they went to investigate, it captured the Deku Princess. So he goes in disguise as the same scrub to gain access in the throne room and notify the king. I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, but Adalwa, the god of Woodfall, arrives and attacks the palace. They also spotted the princess trapped inside a bottle, so Link cuts the rope attached to it and frees her from Adalwa's grasp. Upon Link's victory in defeating him, a giant is set free and tells him to call for him. In addition, the swamp is free from its curse, and Link and Tattle make their way straight towards the mountain. In the Snowhead region, Link and Tattle find a frozen Goron hero named Darmani. His spirit arrives and explains that he left his village to go fight the giant mechanical creature, Goat. Unfortunately, it knocked him off the edge of a cliff, and he crashed. Playing the Song of Healing, Darmani finally rests in peace, and the Goron mask appears. To fulfill the promise he made for him, he transforms into a Goron to say goodbye to the village and encourage the elder son to grow strong and protect the village. Once Goat is defeated, another giant is released, the snow melts completely, and the Gorons celebrate Link's victory. At the Great Bay, a local is upset that he can't fish because there's a cloud that's taken over the region. Then a pirate ship arrives to knock off an injured Zora named Mikau, also a guitarist of the band the Indigogos. Upon rescuing him, he tells Link their vocalist Lulu laid an egg stolen from the pirates and lost her voice around the same time as the bay became cursed. Too weak to fight, Mikau takes one last minute to teach Link the new wave bossa nova. Now, Link takes the mask, turns into a Zora, and goes after the pirate ship. On board, he throws a rock at a beehive, and the swarm chases everyone away. He also engages in a fight with the captain until the ship runs into a small island that's revealed to be a large sea turtle-like guardian. He reveals that he's been asleep for so long that when he heard the egg speak to him, it woke up and explained the crisis. So while the professor, referred to as Dr. Mizumi, takes the egg to safety, the Guardian takes Link to the source that caused the curse, and they find the Gargantung-masked fish, Georg. The third giant is released by Link just electrifying his fins and shocking him. As Mikau, one last time, he notifies Lulu that everything is alright, and they play the new wave bossa nova one last time. After Link defeats the giant masked insect twin Mold in the valley, the last giant is set free and teaches him Oath to Order. Back in Clocktown, Link spots a kid at the entrance of Stockpot Inn, bumps into him, and runs away, forgetting the letter he just dropped. Finding out it was for Anju, Link delivers it to her. Turns out, it was from Cafe. So she and the grandmother decide to stay, believing the giants will save them, as the story says. Catching up with the same kid from before, the mask falls off his face and is revealed to be Cafe, a man who's been cursed by the Skull Kid. With little time they have left, he goes with Link to the top of the clock tower in the hopes of getting the Skull Kid to undo the curse. The moon gets closer and closer, and even as Link plays Oath to Order, the giants haven't arrived. Finally reuniting with Anju, she and Cafe take one last minute to be together as the moon starts to crush the entire land. As Link breaks down in despair, Termina Field rumbles, the giants arrive, and they use all their power to stop the moon. Ashamed of himself for everything he's done to Termina, the Skull Kid reveals all he wanted was friends. As the giants left without saying goodbye one day, he felt betrayed, so he thought he could use Majora's mask to grant him the wishes he had, but like the Happy Mask salesman said, it was also of pure evil. Believing Skull Kid is no longer of use, he jumps off his face and challenges Link to a game of tag. And by giving him the Fierce Deity mask, Link is it. He continuously fights every monster the mask unleashes and the mask itself as different forms with all his strength until it's finally powerless. Then, the salesman finally gets it back. On the day of the Festival of Time, the curse breaks, Cafe and Anju finally wed as husband and wife, and the giants assure Skull Kid they haven't forgotten about him. Epona gallops back to Link, everyone says their goodbyes, and the former of the two get back to searching for Navi. So there you have it, the whole story of the Majora's Mask manga. I've said this in my Ocarina of Time video, but for those who started with this, the overall plot is the same as the game, but the writers had to make some changes, mainly to add more personality to the characters, and graphic novels like this are different from video games. One of the changes I like is showing Link sparring, if not fighting, with a group of soldiers at a knightly order before he heads for the Lost Woods. It shows how much Link has improved as a swordsman despite being a kid again. Because he also expresses how much he hates showing the Ocarina of Time as proof of who he is, it can be assumed he wished he stayed an adult. Though I mainly feel this way, probably because I know a little bit about the Zelda timeline and what happens to Ocarina Link after Majora's Mask. Another change I noticed is, we actually get to see Kafei returning to his adult height, reflecting more on the curse breaking. Whereas in the game, you're basically looking at Andrew from Kafei's perspective as he reaches out to hold her hand at the wedding. I think it would have been nice if we also got a scene of the two thanking Link after they wed. After the main story, they added an original story that tells the origin of Majora's Mask. A dragon-like creature living alone in a deserted land sniffs a traveler coming his way. The dragon assumes the traveler came to take his armor in the hopes of getting a wish granted. Anyone who would dare to do this ended up getting eaten, but all he really wanted was to get some rest. While there, he sensed the atmosphere is filled with strange energy, that the land was neither living nor dead. The dragon made a wish for time to flow, so the traveler got his drums out and played music for him. He danced for 3 days and 3 nights. On the 4th day, the dragon fell to his death, completely leaving the armor as remains. Finally, the traveler carved a mask, keeping the dragon's power sealed inside, and hoped it wouldn't be a threat any longer. In short, the dragon is actually Majora, and the traveler is apparently the fierce deity himself that Link would ultimately become. While I think it's a fun read, I have a little bit of criticism. Mainly, when Link arrives in Clock Town for the first time. On the first day, Link follows the Skull Kid to the top of the clock tower, and the moon is already falling, which makes it a little confusing. Although, from what I've heard, some may speculate that the Goddess of Time fast-forwarded time to that part. At the end of the main story, Akira Himakawa stated that they couldn't think of a way to adapt Romani Ranch, as you needed to get Epona back in order to gain access to the Great Bay in the game. I have a rough idea for that. After Link defeats Twin Mold, he goes around looking for Epona and finds her at Romani Ranch. Romani spots Link, asking him if she belongs to him. Whether or not he plays Epona's song, I can see 2 different scenarios. Either Romani sings it to soothe her, and Link remembers it, or there wouldn't be a need for that as he already remembers it from Ocarina of Time. I feel most likely the latter because for the game where Romani re-teaches him, there would be different reasons to include this. Probably because Majora's Mask would be the first Zelda game some have played, while others might have forgotten it since beating Ocarina of Time. While in the manga, it probably wouldn't be as much of a necessity. Romani introduces Link to her older sister, Cremia, and she expresses fear of delivering milk to the bar because bottles have been splattering everywhere and she doesn't know why. So Link offers to help her watch her carriage, which she happily agrees with. While riding Epona, the Gorman brothers attempt to rob the carriage, but Link knocks them off with his arrows. When they reach Clock Town, Link reports to Cremia about what he suspects. When the brothers catch up, Link takes them down again. They reveal why they wanted Cremia's milk bottles, which so far is because they wanted to sell them to make money for themselves, Cremia scolds them and rewards Link access to the bar for a drink along with Romani. At least non-alcoholic milk. Then Link goes to check on Andrew, causing him to run into a cafe. Of course, this is just a thought. Akira Himakawa did what they could when adapting the game. Aside from those, it's a very fun read. I think old-time Zelda fans and fantasy adventure fans will enjoy it too. While these books are not in the same continuity as the games, you can still vibe with the story and characters. Again, if you want to read this, there's a link to Amazon in the description. Thanks for watching.